We are live.
Welcome, everybody. Good morning. My name is Maggie Ullman. I'm the chair of our Environment and Safety Committee. I'd like to welcome you to our March 26, 2024 remote meeting. All council members and staff are participating virtually. And to help our audience follow along, I'll state each section of the agenda aloud. We are streaming live on our virtual engagement hub, which is accessible through the virtual engagement hub link on the front of the city's webpage. We also have an option for the public to listen live by phone by calling 855-925-2801, and the meeting code is 9477. For those of you out there, welcome. And for today, we also, as usual, have an option for folks to call in and comment live during the meeting. We have public comment at the beginning of our agendas and at the end. To do that, use that same number, 855-925-2801 with the same meeting code, 9477. Your phone will be muted. You'll hear the meeting live. At this point, the speakers will need to push *3 to enter the speaker queue. So I will do roll call, asking folks to come off mute before we jump into our agenda. So welcome to everyone, including Vice Mayor Kilgore.
Good morning, everyone.
Also, our Councilwoman Shanika Smith.
Good morning.
We also have our City Manager, Deborah Campbell.
Good morning.
Our Assistant City Manager, Ben Woody.
Good morning.
Our Deputy City Attorney, John Maddox.
Good morning.
John. Our Sustainability Director, Bridget Herring, is with us.
Good morning.
We also have the Police Department's Financial Business Manager, Elise Lewis.
Good morning.
Hello. And we have some guests. So from Bright Space, we have Sophie Mullinax and Ken Halden.
Morning, everybody.
Hello.
Looking forward to your presentation in a little bit. Thanks for joining us. And let me know if I missed anyone else, but I think we got most folks.
Chief Case. Chief Case.
Oh, thank you. Yes, Chief Case.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you. All right, so now we'll go into our agenda. We'll start with our opening round of public comment. Katie, is there anyone joining us to start that?
Yes, we do. We have a couple. Just one moment.
Great, thank you.
Caller ending in 8954. Your line is now open.
Good morning, distinguished council members and others. My name is Barry Shore. Can you hear me?
We can. Welcome.
Hello.
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh yes, thank you very much.
Yep.
I just wanted to say I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And as someone who is a full-time resident in the area, I wanted to just try to break a different cycle with our police force of lower salaries, lower pay, lower benefits than a number of cities who are similar in nature, and urge you all to consider increases in your budget for these gallant folks who have sworn to uphold the law and protect us, the citizens. I think we're making really good strides in that direction, but I would like to see more, and I'd like to see the budget reflect increases for these folks so that they can afford to live in the area as well as raise their families. I think it's very, very important that we as a city take a position that we are fulfilling their needs financially, and that they have a comfort level coming to Asheville as a leader in this area, budgetarily speaking. So I just wanted to voice that. I know a number of people who also share my belief that funding for these folks is absolutely critical, and increasing that funding is also critical.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Caller ending in 5584. Your line is now open.
Hello, thank you to our distinguished council members and Ms. Campbell for hiring Chief Lamb. I am Honor Moore. I am the chairwoman of the Asheville Coalition for Public Safety. As you know, our group is 1.5 years old. We have continued to have quarterly meetings. We're highly organized. We've attended all kinds of meetings in the city. Most recently, the Downtown Commission. I'm really happy to see that they are also being extremely supportive of the APD. So my reason for calling are several reasons. One is, I don't know if I've told you all in the past, but I went on an East ride along last summer at night on a Friday night in our city, which was rather eye-opening. And I think that if anybody plans to have a leadership position on council, they really should do one of these ride-alongs. It gives you a real idea what understaffing looks like, what the call volume is like, how they can't keep up with the call volume and have to make really difficult decisions sometimes on priorities. On that evening, I was on an armed robbery call. I went on an arrest for, a warrant in public housing, several calls from public housing. Basically, our most underrepresented people need the police the most. And we can't keep up with our call volume. And I didn't understand really how understaffing looked and felt, like I said, until I went on this ride along. So I want to make a note that our first murder of the year was in East Asheville on the ride along district that I was in at Homeward Bound Compass Point. And one of the things that the officer that I rode along with said, he said, after that place opens, we're going to be there all the time. And sure enough, they've been pulled out approximately 200 credible threat calls just to that one location. And when they go to these calls, it pulls them out of the entire district. So this is just another reason why we need more policemen in Asheville. So we, as a coalition, are supporting a request for a 6% living wage increase for the police department across the board, and also ask you all to examine their retirement health benefits. Apparently, they had better health benefits a few years ago. They were cut out. Police don't tend to last as long as a normal person, such as an accountant in a job for obvious reasons. They don't make it to 65, working in a more physical capacity. So they need those retirement benefits. Anyway, again, thanks for hearing me, and please support the Asheville Police Department with a significant increase. Thanks.
Thank you for your call. I know that we have a couple more in the queue, so just a reminder of our process for public comment. We limit these to 3 minutes, so we want to hear everything you have to say, but if we're moving through, that's the why. Katie, help us with our next one, please.
Caller ending in 0852. Your line is now open and you will have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Jensen Gelfond and I live in West Asheville. And I noticed that for this meeting, there was no agenda or information about the meeting posted until shortly before the meeting. I checked even 2 hours earlier and there was just nothing. Now, the actual date of the upload of the agenda to Google was actually several days earlier on March 22nd, but it was not provided to the public until shortly before the meeting. And that's concerning. It really limits the ability of the public to engage with the information at the meeting and to provide meaningful public comment. This has been a pattern for this group of not providing timely information, and just really concerning to me. It's especially concerning because there really is no other organization that's providing any kind of oversight, particularly over policing. There is no public body that is being empowered to do that. So this group, in the meantime, is really the only place for us to interface with the police in an official capacity. And so I'd expect more from this group in terms of transparency and doing what's necessary to just get basic information out about these meetings on a timely basis. I'm also concerned about the fact that this continues to be a hybrid, or rather a remote meeting. That further limits the ability of the public to interact in a meaningful way with people, council members, members of the police, and members of the environmental groups. It should be a hybrid meeting. There should be an in-person component to this meeting, and it should be welcome to people to participate remotely as well. And I want to call for that to happen. I know it's possible, and it's time for this group to open itself up to meaningful interaction with the public. And so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Caller ending in 2265. Your line is now open and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm from West Asheville, and I wanted to give a huge shout out to Asheville Police Department. I've experienced a lot of issues over here in recent years, and they have done a phenomenal job. My main reason for calling is to give them their 6% increase. We need full staffing. It was no easy task to get things taken care of over here, and we need to get them fully staffed. We need to get them their raises. And I just heard from another caller, there's been changes in medical insurance. I would definitely like to see that getting taken care of. But this one's short and sweet. Thank you for hearing me, and let's get our police force funded. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your call.
Caller ending in 0929. Your line is now open.
Hello.
Welcome. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. I just wanted to call in. I live near the downtown area and wanted to support the police in their 6% wage increase. I think they've done an incredible job. I've seen them treat really difficult situations with emotional intelligence and compassion. I think the public housing areas, in addition to the downtown, have really experienced a lot of being in the crosshairs of a lot of the drug and gun sales and violence. And I think they really are doing their best to help both of those areas. And I think the wage increase would really help. So I just want to call in.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that was all we had in the speaker queue as of now.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all you callers contributing and participating. Okay, we'll move on to the second item of the agenda, which is to approve the February 27th meeting minutes from this committee.
So move. Sandra, I'll second.
Great. I'll do a roll call vote, as is our process for virtual meetings. Vice Mayor Kilgore.
Aye.
Councilwoman Smith.
Aye.
Myself is aye. The motion passes. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to we have a lot of informational sharing and hopefully nice discussions on the agenda today. The first one is on single-use plastic reduction project update from our sustainability director, Bridget. Welcome.
Good morning, members of council and members of the public joining us online. My name is Bridget Herring, and I am the Sustainability Director with the City of Asheville. And I'm here to give you a final update on this organizational work plan project on single-use plastic reduction. So if we move to the next slide, the key takeaways I want to leave you with today is that we're currently rolling out an education and outreach campaign called Less Plastic Asheville that we'll dive into a little bit later in the presentation, and that this is the final phase of this organizational work plan project. To help raise awareness around this campaign and to collaborate with other community efforts, we're suggesting that council proclaim April as Less Plastic Asheville Month. And that even though this organizational work plan is coming to a close, that doesn't mean that the effort to reduce single-use plastics, particularly in city operations, will end. It will just go into a more internal phase of the work. So moving on to the next slide. This is a review. You've seen this slide before. Just highlights the actions that were taken since the inception of this project. And the only thing I want to call your attention to is just the cross collaboration that we've had with multiple departments. So I really want to give a big shout out to our legal department, our communications and public engagement department, and the sanitation division in our public works department for their help and partnership to pull this project off and bring it to fruition. We move to the next slide. Just recap some of the project accomplishments. While we were unable to pursue a policy avenue to regulate some of these products at point of sale due to state preemption issues, we were successful in updating our own city code to eliminate plastic bags from our curbside brush and leaf collection. And we also had a high level of engagement and interest with our community during this project. So we've engaged over 6,000 residents and businesses, and that number is growing exponentially through our education and outreach campaign. So moving on to dig deeper into the next slide and talk a little bit about what we're up to right now, which is the Less Plastic Asheville Challenge. So again, as I mentioned, this is the final phase of this organizational work plan project. It's currently being rolled out now and will run through May of this year. And the goal of this campaign is really twofold, and that's to empower residents to have the information and resources they need to reduce their own single-use plastic consumption, kind of inviting everybody to join us in this effort, and to make sure that alternatives to some of the single-use plastic products that are currently commonplace in our life are readily available, particularly to the folks that we know would have been most heavily impacted should a policy have gone into effect. So this is part of our equity action plan, and we utilize the information that we gathered during our public input and engagement part of the phase to talk about who is most impacted. And then we're trying to move our staff around town, both geographically as well as the different types of stores that we're able to get permission to table in front of, to make sure that people have access to pick up reusable bags, to pick up reusable drink containers, to pick up reusable takeout boxes. So all the things that we're trying to encourage folks to do, we want to have a resource there available to them to be able to participate. So moving on to the next slide. So digging into what this campaign actually is. It includes weekly posts on the city's social media channels. It includes a pledge, a Pass on Plastic pledge, where people can commit to taking a number of different actions to reduce single-use plastic consumption in their life. There's Less Plastic Bingo, where folks can take photos of themselves participating in reducing plastic consumption or getting litter off of our streets that stems from plastics and being able to post that online. And then these educational tabling events. So again, if social media isn't your thing, we have an opportunity usually twice a week to engage with city staff to, one, talk about the issue, talk about where plastics come from in our life, and also to receive resources to be able to do that. And again, we're trying to be really intentional about where we're showing up. Of course, this is dependent on businesses giving us permission to be there, but really trying to show up at the stores and places where we know people are using these materials so that we can help provide them with a resource in that moment. And to date, from just the first month of having this campaign rolling out, we've had over 600 conversations with folks, 800 social media interactions, and over 10,000 views. And so this picture on your screen is of Aurora Wynn. She's our AmeriCorps fellow and has really been championing this work for the city. She's been helping to create that content and working those tables twice a week. So I just want to take a moment and extend some gratitude for her energy and capacity and commitment to rolling out the Less Plastic Asheville Challenge. Now moving on to the next slide and talking a little bit more about the proclamation. We're going to suggest that council proclaim April Less Plastic Asheville Month, and this has a number of reasons behind it. One is to raise awareness over our Less Plastic Asheville campaign. Secondly, we want to collaborate with our community partners. So we've been in talks with Plastic Free WNC, who's continuing to work with other businesses and entities in the region to reaffirm their commitment to reducing single-use plastics. And they're trying to do this across the month of April to highlight Earth Day and that opportunity. So we want to be a good partner in that space. Also, Earth Day's theme this year is planet versus plastic. So we want to highlight that call to action that comes from Earth Day and those organizers. And then also to articulate our commitment as an organization to reduce single-use plastic consumption in our operations. So moving on. So what does life look like after an organizational work plan project? So while this project rose to that level, both in terms of our cross-departmental collaboration and also the high level of engagement with our community and kind of that external facing work, now we're going to take this work more internal and look more at our operations. And so one, we want to use data to understand where's the biggest area for impact to reduce these products in city operations. And so the data that we plan to gather and utilize is through the Solid Waste Master Plan. So as you might recall, the Solid Waste Master Plan is one of the high impact activities of the Municipal Climate Action Plan. And an RFP was issued earlier this year to retain a consultant to help the city work through that process. And so we really want to support our staff and get some momentum behind getting that plan done and utilizing the information there to inform any programming or policies that we might introduce to reduce single-use plastic consumption in city operations. And then once we get that information and that data, we want to make sure to apply an equity lens to it so that it doesn't have any conflict with our business inclusion policy. The last thing we would want to do would put a policy in effect that would shrink the number of businesses, particularly minority-owned and women businesses, that the city is able to do business with. And so we want to make sure there's not a conflict in between those two. And that this work will kind of be reprioritized in our work plans to reflect the continuation. But again, it'll be at a much more internal and department level. So moving on, just a reminder of these key takeaways. We have the Less Plastic Asheville campaign out and alive right now. So excited to see what this educational and outreach campaign can do, and that this is the final phase of this organizational work plan project. And to help build on this momentum with the Less Plastic Asheville campaign and other community efforts, we're going to bring a proclamation to council to proclaim April as Less Plastic Asheville Month. And that while this work is going to end at this organizational work plan level, that there will still be efforts to look internally to reduce the use of these products in city operations. And with that, I'll take any questions.
All right. Huge gratitude. I know that given the state's decision to make a decision for us, that we could not, set any restrictions out in the community. I think that pursuing this education plan is a really smart path forward. I know that, plastics are going to continue to be a problem in our waterways and everywhere else that I'm hopeful we have a path towards the future where this is more something that we can sink our teeth into, but I like the work that you're doing now. And I think the direct engagement where people are shopping to kind of give folks choices, I think is a really nice approach. And I'm excited for the proclamation next month. Thanks so much, Bridget.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our fourth agenda item. The Electrify Asheville Buncombe Pilot Program. This is something that we talked about very briefly last year as a committee. It's something that we've been partnering on with Buncombe County, and we're really at the point where the program's kind of in design mode. Very excited about it. So really thrilled to have Bridget lead us off again, and then work with Sophie Mullinax and Ken from Brightspace to really bring this program to our community.
Yeah, so thank you again, Bridget Herring, privileged to serve as the Sustainability Director with the city. I'm just going to tee this up and hand this over to our contract partners. As you'll recall, the city and the county co-fund an effort called the Blue Horizons Project. And that initiative is really focused on helping our community reach the 100% renewable energy goal for our Buncombe County at large by 2042. And so it's providing information, resources, direct programming for folks to reduce their energy consumption through energy efficiency, and then install other technologies such as solar or battery storage. Or whatnot. And so we're really excited to launch a new program that's focused more on giving folks an opportunity to change their heating and cooling systems. And so I'm going to now pass it over to Sophie Molinex and Ken Halden with Bright Spaces to talk to you a little bit more about Electrify Asheville Buncombe.
Thank you so much for having us today, and thanks, Bridget, for that introduction. I'm very happy to be able to talk about this with you and how it will benefit our community. So Electrify Asheville Buncombe is launching very soon, and it has a goal of sparking household electrification in Asheville and Buncombe County, prioritizing heat pump technology for space heating and cooling. Next slide. So what is this? It's a city and county sponsored pilot program focused on home electrification. And what that means is that it is going to encourage people to get off of fossil gas in their homes. When it comes to space heating, water heating, cooking, drying clothes, all of those have fossil fuel technologies that people could have in their homes. And we are encouraging people to electrify those technologies as part of getting to 100% renewable energy here, as well as making our homes more efficient, more affordable, and healthier. There are significant indoor air quality concerns associated with fossil gas appliances in folks' homes. So there's public health angle here as well as the climate angle and efficiency and energy cost savings. Next slide. So as this group is aware, there was a 2017 resolution to commit to 100% renewable energy for our community by 2042. Electrification has been identified as a key pathway toward that, along with adopting more renewable energy and energy efficiency. When we electrify our homes and businesses, we use the energy on the grid much more efficiently. And as renewable energy is continuously added to our electric grid, that makes our homes and our appliances and the power used in our homes that much cleaner and more renewable. And we're very happy to be under the umbrella of the Blue Horizons Project and collaborating significantly with the staff and volunteers associated with that project. Next slide. So there is a national movement to electrify everything. If you haven't heard of Rewiring America, I encourage you to check out this wonderful resource for information on tax incentives, rebates, consumer resources and education for going all electric in your home and why. And we're happy to bring some of that content to ground here in Asheville and Buncombe County and link it with, our local initiatives such as 100% renewable energy, Blue Horizons Project, and making our homes healthier, more cost effective, and more efficient. Next slide. So we're focusing on heat pumps. Heat pumps, to me, are kind of magic because you put 1 unit of energy into them and you can get 3 to 5 units out. They are just incredibly efficient. They use electricity to heat and cool your home. So folks might have an air conditioner in their home and maybe a gas furnace or an oil furnace, but both of those technologies can be replaced with a heat pump because it heats and cools, even on very cold days, which we get a few days a year here in the Asheville-Buncombe area. And up to 40% of a local or of a home's energy use can be associated with heating, which is why we are focusing on this particular technology right now. There are lots of incentives available, and we're hopeful that when state rebates through the Inflation Reduction Act come to ground in our state, that we can be among the first to be able to spread the word to our community here. Right now, there is just a tax credit of $2,000 for heat pumps, and our program is going to connect community members who want to electrify and get a heat pump to replace their heating and cooling with local vetted contractors who can supply that service and technology to them. Next slide. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Ken Halden here.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you to the council as well as all the staff. And the work that we're putting into this is very much going forward. And we've spent a lot of time here in the first few months of this year and the latter part of last year in development of this. And I'm going to quickly go through the program goals. Like Sophie said, we want to make sure that there's homeowner knowledge. When there's available incentives and you don't have awareness of them, then there's no action that you could take. Same goes with the knowledge about heat pumps. So kind of moving through how people can learn and then connect with contractors is sort of the underlying approach to the program. Next slide, I'll share some features. And we're going to go through the call to action, education. We've got a marketplace platform, which makes that connection point, and a knowledge of financing and incentives. And then finally, encouraging people to stay on this journey much more than the short term. Next slide. So in terms of calls to action, it starts really with making sure our contractor community, our business community here who's in this space is aware of this program and is aware of the opportunity to foster heat pumps as a primary option for homeowners to consider that are either in an emergency situation or in a transition with their home's energy use. So we're going to continue to outreach to contractors in a way that arrays them collectively with the consumers that we're going to be reaching through this program. And like Sophie said, we want to spark how people learn about electrification and the concept behind everything she described. There's going to be some things where we can provide some energy profiling that's simple and free to understand how your home currently operates and what it could be if it had some improvements, and offering some energy audits that are really important as a first step toward your home's electrification. Next slide. Education is what it's all about. We talked about electrification, why it's an important thing, and how it both makes your home cleaner, more comfortable, and it also meets clean energy goals for the community. And there's a lot of services out there, but nowhere necessarily is there a place to turn to that's cohesive for us as a local community. And connecting the dots between that and the Inflation Reduction Act. Tax credits are available now. Point of sale rebates will be available in the future. And we want to make sure people know when those are accessible. And we want to continue to explain to people not only heat pumps, but other opportunities to electrify their homes and properties. Next slide, please. Underlying all this is a marketplace, and a marketplace is something that's been in development, and that's been the most challenging thing to mount to make it something that everyone can tap into. And by this time next month, we should be out in the public with this Let's Go Electric Marketplace. That's the sort of flag that we're flying around this. And that will enable people to get on board and learn all about the concepts that we've described, but also to connect with contractors. And we have a sort of early group of contractors that have taken a look at this program and are interested in being a part of it. And we're onboarding them now. And they'll be part of this marketplace that we created here for Asheville, Buncombe County. Next slide. Talked a little bit about the incentives, and there's also inclusive financing that we're privileged to be a part of with the North Carolina Clean Energy Fund, who has activated a program here for Asheville that's fairly exclusive to us in the state. And we're working shoulder to shoulder with them to ensure that their financing opportunities that are often for people who have credit scores that may not meet a contractor's financing, conventional financing, and to work with them to ensure that people have other opportunities to fund their electrification projects, particularly heat pumps. Next slide. These incentives are kind of built into what the IRA provides, and we're going to be working through the energy office's clearances of these funds as they become available. We're hearing we're going to get through most of this year without the rebates, but we're in close monitoring of those available funds. And like I said, in a way, it's like having a coupon and not knowing how to activate it or how to deploy it. And we want to make sure when those funds do become available that people can take action. So that's both for consumers and for contractors. Contractors are also often in the dark on all this, and we're helping to fill that gap, we hope. Next slide. Sophie, you want to talk more about the electrification journey? This is the idea that we're going to take what we do with heat pumps in year one and then move it forward for other products and services.
Yep. So the pilot is going to focus on heat pumps because heating and cooling use the largest share of energy use in a home and therefore cost the most. So it could have the highest impact. However, there is lots that you could electrify in your home, including your cooktop, your stove, your dryer, your water heater. There's opportunities we feel in the future to provide information and direct connection to services that can install home batteries and solar and electric vehicle chargers. Everything that encompasses an electric lifestyle is what we hope to offer on the platform. But again, we're focusing on heat pumps in year one. So throughout the rest of our contract year with the city and the county, we're going to be focusing now a lot on consumer and contractor education. We are going to be having an Electra Fair in June, which will be sort of like a showcase with demonstrations and product demos of here's how awesome using an induction cooktop is, and this is what a heat pump looks like, and this is how much less energy you could use and therefore money saved by switching to a heat pump hot water heater or a heat pump dryer. Often these technologies just use so much less energy and do not emit harmful pollutants in folks' homes that can lead to asthma or other respiratory concerns. Next slide. So we invite people to stay involved. You can go to bluehorizonsproject.com. We also have a new website called electrifyabc.com that folks can go to start learning about this initiative and stay in touch and receive updates. Thank you again for having us today.
Thank you so much, y'all. I've seen this presentation a couple times over the last several months, and it evolves like actually on time in the timeline. It's like, you said you were going to do this. The next time I get an update, we're moving forward. So that's always delightful to see that progress. Excited to see that you're already seeing some early contractor interest, because I do think that's a really key part of this. At the end of the day, if someone needs to make a heating decision, they're going to ask around, they're going to find a contractor, they're going to look in the yellow pages. Do people do that anymore? But they're going to talk to their contractors. And so having this be a tool to give folks at that front door and say, hey, as you figure out how to pay for this, here are some choices. I think that's really powerful, as well as having some financing options for folks who don't have the cash on hand, but they need a new system. Their heat went out, they're ready for summer and their AC is not there, what have you. So I'm pretty excited about the program, excited about the progress. I don't really have any questions per se. I haven't kind of been involved a couple times, but I'm really glad for all of us to hear the work that's going on. Ultimately, this is, and for our sustainability work, we partner, the city and the county collaborate, we contract with partners to deliver some of this programming. So, we aren't the staff executing it, but this is really directly related to our sustainability program. So I'm excited to see its work. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts? If not, we'll keep moseying. Oh, look at that. Okay, well, thank you folks for being here. We're going to keep going with our agenda, but feel free if you need to hop off to other work, we understand. But thanks again for being here. Okay. I am trying to get to my right agenda to look at the next item, which is item number 5. Our police department's here to talk through some grants and renewal items that will be that are proposed to move forward to City Council's agenda. So this is an item where we want to get some information and the committee can vote if we want to move it forward to City Council. So Elise, welcome.
Hi, welcome. Thanks, everyone. Welcome, everyone. And I'm Elise Lewis. I'm the Financial Business Manager for the Asheville Police Department. Next slide. So we have 3 basic sections today. We have applying for grants, accepting grants, and then 1 contract that we need to renew that's going to put us over the threshold that we need City Council approval for. So I'll start with the applications. APD desires to apply for an additional year of funding for 3 existing grants. We have the Department of Justice 2024 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant, which allows us to use federal funding to offset the cost of required bulletproof vests for officers. The Bulletproof Vest Grant does require matching funds, and that funding is already included in our proposed FY25 operating budget. The next grant we have is the Community Oriented Police Services, the COPS grant. This is for our 2024 Law Enforcement and Mental Health and Wellness grant. We use it currently to fund our wellness coordinator position that we hired last year. And this grant is used to fund also any associated equipment, training, supplies, or other purchases needed for the gentleman in the position. And the last is the 2025 High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area HIDA program. This grant program is administered by the Office of National Drug Control Policy. And the purpose of the HIDA program is to reduce drug trafficking and the production of illegal drugs in the United States, specifically in areas where drug-related activities are having a harmful impact. Next slide. So to dig into these a little further, the first one, APD desires to accept funding for an additional year. I'm sorry, this is for the accepting of the grants. This is to accept funding for 2 existing grants. The Department of Justice 2023 Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant. It allows for APD to use federal funding to purchase items not budgeted for by the city. JAG funds may be used to provide equipment, supplies, contractual support, training, technical assistance, and information systems for criminal justice. The Department of Justice 2023 Bulletproof Vest Grant Partnership Grant allows APD to use funding to offset the cost of required bulletproof vests for the officers. And this grant requires matching funds, and that funding is already included in our current operating budget. Next slide. And the last item today is we're requesting to renew a contract with Leica Geosystems to add an additional 2 years of optional renewals for continuing maintenance, service, and subscriptions for our department's Leica RTC 360 laser scanner, which we purchased 2 years ago. The current contract expires on 5/31 of 25. However, the current renewal price of $15,170 will place the contract over the $90,000 threshold, thus requiring committee and council's approval to execute the contract. Okay, next slide. So here we'll get into the applications. The first one is the 2024 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant. We receive an annual opportunity to apply for this grant through the Department of Justice. The Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant requires a dollar-for-dollar match by the city. Grant funds are used to purchase bulletproof vests for new sworn officers, as well as replace bulletproof vests for existing officers, which will expire after 5 years. If awarded, we will ask staff to ask City Council to accept the grant and authorize the city manager to sign off all the appropriate agreements. And in addition, there will also be a budget amendment necessary to include the funds in the budget. And for this one, next slide. This one has no action required by committee at this time. It's for informational purposes only. When we are granted the opportunity, then we'll come back through and ask for approval to accept it. Next slide. So the next slide is the 2024 Office of Community Oriented Police Services COPS grant for the Law Enforcement and Mental Health and Wellness Act. The City of Asheville receives an annual opportunity to apply for this grant. On April 12th of 22, City Council approved Resolution 2265 authorizing $175,000 to fund the wellness coordinator position within our department, as well as any associated equipment, training, and supplies needed. On October 13th of 2022, we were notified that we did receive the grant in the full amount of $175,000. We hired our wellness coordinator in April of 23, and the initial grant period runs from 9/1 of 22 to 8/31 of 24. So applying for the 2024 grant will now allow us to continue funding our wellness coordinator position starting on September 1st of 24 and going through August 31st of 26. It's a 2-year grant. And if we're awarded this grant again, we will ask City Council to accept the grant and authorize the city manager to sign all of the appropriate agreements. And in addition, there would be a budget amendment necessary to include the funds in the budget. Next slide. So on this one, we are requesting that the committee recommend to council that we allow for APD to apply for this 2024 Office of Community Oriented Police Services grant for Law Enforcement and Mental Health and Wellness Act. I don't know if you want to pause here and vote as we go, or if you want to do the voting at the end.
I think it's good to do a pause, see if there's any questions or if there is entertaining of a vote.
Okay.
For a motion. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I make a motion to authorize APD to apply for the 2024 Office of Community Oriented Police Services in U.S. Department of Justice Law Enforcement and Mental Health and Wellness Act grant.
Sandra, I'll second.
Fantastic. I'll do a roll call vote. Back to you, Vice Mayor.
Aye.
Councilwoman Smith.
Aye.
And myself, aye. The motion passes. Thanks, Elise. Let's keep going.
Thank you. Okay, the next one is for us to apply for the 2025 High Intensity Drug Trafficking Areas Grant, the HIDA grant. The HIDA grant program is a grant program administered by the Office of National Drug Control Policy. It was formed as a response to significant public health and safety threats that were facing the United States. Purpose of the program is to reduce drug trafficking and the production of illegal drugs in the United States, specifically in areas where drug-related activities are having a harmful impact. This HIDA unit does not focus on or adopt cases that are for simple possession, but focuses only on cases that deal in trafficking, manufacturing, and the distribution of illegal drugs. If awarded, APD staff will ask City Council to accept the grant and authorize the city manager to sign all the appropriate agreements. In addition, there would be a budget amendment necessary to include the funds in the budget. And next slide. So the requesting action here is that the committee recommend to council to allow APD to apply for the 2025 HIDA grant.
This is Sandra. I'd like to make a motion to allow the APD to apply for the 2025 High Intensity Drug Trafficking Areas Grant.
Second.
All right, I'll do a roll call vote. Back to you, Vice Mayor Kilgore.
Aye.
Councilwoman Smith.
Aye.
Myself, aye. The motion passes. I do have one question around this. Just tell me about the problems we're seeing around drug trafficking and what's kind of current, right? I think sometimes there's waves of different drugs coming through, different production going through. What's kind of the big focuses right now within your law enforcement work around drug trafficking? And if that's kind of need an update for another time, that's okay. I just kind of had a curiosity of tell me a little bit more about what this looks like to y'all and what you're seeing in the community.
Well, the way this grant works, it's actually, we're the fiduciary for this grant for the DEA office. So they're the ones out doing, all of the work on this. We basically are just the pass through for the funding. Do you have any additional?
Yeah, I think this is just more of your large trafficking amounts. And I mean, we see various types of drug trafficking come through this particular HIDA grant.
Great, thanks. All right, I think we got some more.
Okay. So now this is, we're moving on to accepting grants. These are last year's that we applied for that we would be accepting at this time. This is the JAG grant for last year. We receive an annual opportunity to apply for this Department of Justice Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant. The Department of Justice has determined that the Asheville Police Department is eligible to receive the 2023 award of $83,673, which is allocated between APD and Buncombe County Sheriff's Office in the amounts of $65,195 to us and $18,478 to the Sheriff's Department. Buncombe County Sheriff and APD both decided this year to use the funds to help pay for first aid responder kits with AEDs for sworn personnel. And the grant does not require local matching funds. Next slide. So we're requesting that the committee recommend to council the following: adoption of a resolution for city council to accept the United States Department of Justice 2023 Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant and authorize the city manager to sign all of the appropriate agreements, and also adopt a budget amendment in the city's special revenue fund in the amount of $83,673, which is allocated to APD and Buncombe County Sheriff's Office in the amounts of $65,195 and $18,478 respectively.
Sandra, so moved.
Second.
Okay, I'll do a roll call. Sandra?
Aye.
Shanika?
Aye.
Myself, aye. The motion passes.
Great, thank you. And the next one is also accepting a grant that we applied for last year. This is the 2023 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant. City of Asheville receives the annual opportunity to apply for this Department of Justice Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant. The grant does require a dollar for dollar match by the city. And the grant's funds are used to purchase bulletproof vests for new sworn officers, as well as replace bulletproof vests for existing officers, which expire every 5 years. Next slide. So we're requesting that committee recommend to council the adoption of a resolution for city council. Back one slide, there you go. For city council to accept the 2023 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant from the United States Department of Justice to authorize the city manager to sign all of the appropriate agreements and adopt a budget amendment in the city's special revenue fund in the amount of $40,973.40.
So moved.
Sandra, I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote. Sandra?
Aye.
Shanika?
Aye.
And myself, aye. The motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And last item, next slide, is a contract renewal and also an addendum to the contract that we currently have. The Asheville Police Department requests to renew the contract with Leica Geosystems and to add an additional 2 years of optional renewals for continuing maintenance, service, and subscriptions for the department's Leica RTC 360 laser scanner contract. The current contract expires May 31st of 25. However, the current renewal price of $15,170 places this contract total over the $90,000 threshold, requiring committee and council's approval to execute. Asheville Police Department's forensic unit has determined that the hardware has about a 5 to 7 year life expectancy, and extending the option to renew the current contract an additional 2 years through 2027 allows for contracted coverage and subscription renewals for the minimum life expectancy of the product. And just a little information, in the first few years of use, the equipment was utilized as follows. In 2022, we did 8 scans. 4 were of motor vehicle accidents and 4 were in the other category of homicide, death, gunshot wound, or assault. In 2023, we did 19 scans, 15 motor vehicle accidents, and 4 in the other homicide, death, gunshot wound, and assault. And in 2024, we had done 2 scans so far, both were motor vehicle accidents. Next slide. So we're requesting that committee recommend to council the adoption of a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Leica Geosystems for the current renewal and also an additional 2 years of optional renewals for continuing maintenance, service, and subscriptions for the Asheville Police Department's Leica RTC 360 laser scanner contract.
Sandra, so moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Sandra?
Aye.
Shanika?
Aye.
Myself, aye, and the motion passes. And Elise or Jackie, could you remind the public what this tool is for? Like, we do scans with it, but how does it help us with our policing?
Yeah, so this is just a very, it's a laser. You set it up above and you can map your crime scene, whether it's a fatality, indoor, outdoor use. It just takes us to a whole new level of being able to map without, typically we would just do a hand sketch draw, but this is just far advanced technology.
Yep. So then when we're in solving crime mode, we have just very precise data of the information, and we can have that for posterity so that over time we have just access to really understand the crime scene, which is important for us to really resolve crimes after they happen. All right. So I think that was our last motion, unless I'm wrong, Elise, keep me honest here.
Oh, that was it. It was a lot of words, but we got it. We got through it and got it done. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know that we also wanted to have a discussion or to hear a little bit more about item 6. So I'll go ahead and move on to the final, the second to last agenda item, which is around the Bulletproof Vest partnership.
Oh, actually, that one was included in this. That was just
Great.
going for informational purposes only. So I think it got out on the agenda. So we got through that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Elise. Okay, so our final agenda item is our closing public comment. Katie, do we have any closing public comment today?
Yes, we do. We have a couple callers. Just one moment.
All right, callers, we're looking forward to hearing from you. Just a reminder, we'll do 3 minutes and Katie will help facilitate you coming off mute.
Caller ending in 9402. Your line is now open. You will have 3 minutes.
Hey, thank you for listening to my comment. I'm a longtime resident of 30 years and a small business owner, and I just wanted to support the APD 6% living wage increase. They are hard workers, and I plan on doing a ride-along in the next year, and I suggest that everybody involved with City Council and the County Commission do as well, because I've heard that it's a very eye-opening experience. I appreciate all you guys for what you do, and I definitely appreciate the APD and for all their efforts under a very stressful and short staffing situation, as well as the county. Thank you so much.
Thank you, caller.
I would say yes, because it could be. Alrighty, one moment. Reloading our last caller. Caller ending in 2045. Your line is now open.
Thank you for allowing me to speak in support of the Asheville Police Department today. For too long, in my opinion, city leadership has failed to show the police department the appreciation and support that they deserve. Too often the community has heard council members make disparaging comments or show needs, even to the point of voting against new ballistic vests to protect officers that we hired to protect us. It is long overdue for the council and city manager to show APD what they mean to our community by providing them with a significant raise. They cannot be expected to increase their staffing while other agencies in the area pay far higher salaries and offer better benefits. You made an outstanding choice when you chose Mike Lamb as the new chief, but without proper support, even Chief Lamb cannot improve the department. I ask that you vote to increase APD's salary by at least 6%, but would prefer that you increase their salary to make them the highest paid department in the state. Thank you for listening to me today.
Thank you, caller.
And Madam Chair, we have 2 callers that went in the beginning of the meeting that are still in the queue requesting to speak. Do we want to check on them and see if they'd like to make a comment at the end of the meeting?
Sure.
Okay, just one moment, please. Caller ending in 0852. Your hand is still up in the queue. Did you want to make a comment?
I'm just listening now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jensen.
Caller ending in 2265. Your hand is still up in the queue. Did you want to make a comment at the end of the meeting? Caller ending in 2265. Did you want to make a comment?
All right. Sounds like no.
Okay. Then that was our last caller.
Thanks so much, Katie. All right, Councilwoman, staff, callers who called in, thanks so much for your work today. We will all see each other very shortly for our budget work session. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned. Take care.